Welcome, everyone, to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. Tonight, we're going to talk about video games making history. For the first time ever, a video game wins a Hugo Award. And that video game is none other than Hades, a roguelike video game that I guess has a huge, deep, rich story because I never played it. I'm not a roguelike fan, but maybe some of these guys have and can enlighten us. But this year, 2021, they added a special category for video games, and Hades won. It was up against, I think, like 145 different games, and it won. So the first video game in history to win a Hugo Award. If you're not familiar with Hugo Award, it's basically an honor for best works in science fiction and fantasy. Normally, it's given out to literacy type things, books and things like that, and other things, other avenues. But this is the first time in history since 1953, its inception, a video game has won. And this was a special one-off category for this year that may or may not make it back into next year. I heard that they were studying the possibilities of adding a new category. But it was a special category this year, which means not permanent. So we'll see what time tells with this, if we're going to have a new category to where video games can now start getting Hugo Awards. Like I said, I'm not a roguelike fan. I looked at Hades and I'm like, this isn't for me, but because it's not my cup of tea. I really am, against that. But more on Supergiant, which is the developer behind that they were able to get something like this. Like I said, it must have an amazing backstory, but I don't know how much people pay attention to the story in roguelike games because rinse, repeat kind of gets you focused on a singular task. So let's start with Nick. Did you play this game? And can you see why it won a Hugo Award?
I did play this game. I own it, and I really like it. I don't know why I got a Hugo Award. With roguelikes, I typically don't pay too much attention to the story all that much because it is that rinse and repeat style. I know somewhat about the story in Hades. Basically, you're the son of Lucifer, or not Lucifer, but what's the myth? Hades. You're the son of Hades, and basically, like, you're trying to get to heaven, basically, in a sense, or up to Zeus in this, because it's mythological scenario or time frame. So you're trying to get to Zeus because you don't want to be down in hell or wherever, in Hades or whatever they call it. But anyway, so it's got all the mythological gods and various things like that you talk to, the good and bad gods, Ares, and for some reason I've forgotten all the gods, but all those different ones. So it's a cool game, though. It's a cool roguelike. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun playing through it. I never did beat it, but I made it through several levels. There's quite a few levels in the game, but yeah, as far as apparently it does. I mean, this game has gotten a ton of awards or been nominated a ton of times. And I can see why it's a great game. It really is. If you like those roguelikes, if you're not a big fan of roguelikes, then, like Patrick, it's probably not going to be your cup of tea. It's not going to be up your alley, but if you are, it's probably one of the best ones out there, for a roguelike type game. I really didn't play it for the story. I played it more for the combat and stuff, because the combat and the special powers that you get every time you run through the levels are a lot of fun because they're random, and each one is really cool and has their own cool aspects on them and stuff like that. So speccing out your character during each run is a lot of fun, and I think plus the combat's fun, and I think that's what makes this game fun and enjoyable for most. So, but good on Supergiant. They made a couple other games that did pretty well, but this was one that it almost seemed like they kind of gambled on, and it really worked out for them. This game has gotten a lot of awards and a lot of nominations, and they should definitely be super happy and excited to be the first video game ever to get this award. So, pat on the back and applause for them on that. But maybe I should check out more of the lore of this game. And, supposedly it's pretty good. Everything in the game is voice acted. So, it's not like you have to read a bunch of stuff, but, and there's a ton of characters that you interact with. And every time you do a run, they say new things and new stuff comes up as you continue to play through it and everything like that. So, maybe next time I play through this game, I'll check out more of the lore and kind of pay attention to what's actually going on. Because apparently Hugo likes it. So what about you, Shane?
I have too played this game. You own it, so I have played it. It is okay to play at first, but it does hit that repetition thing that drives me nuts. And I don't, and it's been a while, so I don't remember anything of the story except for you're trying to get from A to B, and you're stuck in freaking A all the time because you're constantly going back and back and back and back. This game was whittled down with 6 others. It was Hades, Animal Crossing, New Horizons, Last of Us Part 2, Spiritfarer, Blaseball, and Final Fantasy VII Remake. Obviously, Hades took the prize. Now, the range of games that this was whittled down to, the types are pretty interesting. So it's really interesting that Hades did one, considering the various type of games that there were to play. I mean, you have an RPG, you have this action stealth, story-driven narrative game, Last of Us Part 2, Spiritfarer, which is, I haven't got to play yet, but I really want to. It looks great. I don't know what Blaseball is, so I apologize there. So, congratulations to
basketball, right?
It's baseball in a mud format.
Baseball in a mud format. There you go. So, I mean, think about it. That's a really varied grouping of games to bring this down to. The Last of Us Part 2, story-wise, the first part of the game was fantastic. Everybody here loved it. We all love the entire original, so I can see why that game could be in there. The second part ruined the game, so they can kiss my butt. The Animal Crossing, everybody loves Animal Crossing. It's just it's a fun, sweet little game. It's not like a big story-driven game, so that one's kind of odd, but it's also a really endearing game. Final Fantasy VII Remake, though, I can kind of see why that would be in there as far as story and everything. It's really interesting. Hades is a game that I don't know a lot about, that even though I did play. I think it's really interesting for this type of award to go to this type of a game is kind of peculiar. But hey, you know what? Good for them. Congratulations to them. I would rather see an underdog like Hades come through and win something than a crap hole like Last of Us Part 2. So
I saw that one coming.
That's just my feelings. I think there was other games as far as narrative that definitely blew out all of these games. Ghost of Tsushima narrative just, in my opinion, destroys all of those combined. It Takes Two, fantastic narrative, fantastic story and direction, and everything you do, and is just fantastic. And it won Game of the Year. So there's other games that, in my opinion, that could have won this award, but they didn't, and that's fine. It's I don't know who makes the choices. If it was a group of intellectuals who feel they know something I don't, cool, works for me. I don't care. But Hades is an interesting game to pick for an award like this, and I think I like that most of all, that they didn't go with a big AAA story narrative game like Last of Us or Tsushima, which we all love Tsushima here. So good for them. Congratulations to them. I hope they continue this. I really do. So what about you, Pat?
So just so you know, most people who don't read, like I said, Hugo is big in the world. I use a lot of their winners to decide who I want to read next in a science fiction novel or something like that. The people who vote for them are part of the World Science Fiction Society, and all you have to do is buy a membership to be part of that. So nothing special. You can buy your way in, and it costs just like Congress, a lot, right? I think it costs like $50 for the year, and you could go to their meetings and stuff like that. And we don't have to attend the meeting, and then you get to vote on some of these things. And I believe you are even allowed to present categories and items for that category. You can bring up like 5 per member or something like that. I can't remember. I looked into this a long time ago to see who voted on the books and stuff. I'm like, how do I know that's just not some 5 people sitting back in Cisco and Ebert in this thing or whatever, but it's a governing body of just basically members. So it's kind of like the NRA or anything else. You just buy your membership and you get to sit in and say, this is a great gun. This is a great book. This is a great video game. So, that type of stuff. And I looked into Hades because, like I said, as soon as I saw roguelike, my brain said, nope, and checked out. It's won something like 30 awards, including this Hugo Award when I was looking through there just a minute ago. And obviously they weren't going for just video games this year because Hades came out last year. It won Golden Joysticks, Critics' Choice, and Best Indie Game. It won Best Indie Game from the Video Game Awards that year, the Game Awards that year, Best Action Game. So it's won a lot of stuff, and it won a Nebula Award as well, Best Game Writing, back in this year. So it's won a lot of interesting awards and stuff like that. So, like I said, around 30 or over 30 awards right now at this point in time for a game that came out back in, I guess it came out in August of this year. It says, oh no, it came out on Windows and Switch and Mac in 2020. And then it came out on PS4, Xbox, and Series X and all that stuff in August of this year. So it hit a wider audience this year in August. I mean, more power to it. The more we can get video games out into the mass market, the better it is for everybody, in my opinion. The more people playing video games is a win-win for everybody. It's a win for us because the video game market increases and by the number of players in it, which means that more people are looking at, well, maybe I should develop a video game. And we get more of these indie developers or indie titles that eventually grow up into be AAA studios or get swallowed by AAA developers and start making games, in that genre, get money pumped into them. So I'm all for it as long as EA, Activision stop buying up everybody, and if they are going to get bought up by another studio, maybe the studio just leave them alone for a while, let them make the game that they make because you bought them for a reason. So I'm all for it. Hugo Awards is not something I ever thought about a video game for, but now that I think about it, I'm like, well, why not? It's science fiction type stuff. So they won a rocket ship because the Hugo Award is a rocket ship if you ever seen it. So I don't have anything else to say myself on this. Like I said, more power to Nick, Shane. You guys got anything else you want? Do you guys ever follow the Hugo Awards before now or invest any time into that type of stuff?
I had never heard of them until this article came up, but I might start paying a little more attention to them as well because, you know me, I like science fiction. I don't like reality, so I love me some science fiction. So I'll definitely keep more of an eye out on this stuff.
Yeah, I've never heard of them either. The name kind of sounds familiar, but when you brought it up, I was like, what is that award for?
Named after Hugo Weaving.
Mm-hmm. Yes. For me, besides Hades, and like I said, I'm glad that, it's good that they won and everything. Shane said, you had said one game that you could have seen winning that. I can't remember what game you said besides Hades. It was something else.
Well, there was several games in there.
He picked Ghost of Tsushima.
I think a game like Ghost of Tsushima could have won. Granted, it's a science fiction thing. I also understand that the telling of Ghost of Tsushima it's a made up story. There may be some truth into it, though. I don't know. But that's why I said also It Takes Two would have been fantastic for an award like this because definitely hits all the science fiction notes. It's got a fantastic story, fantastic characters. So to me, I think that would have been the winner in my book out of my list that I would have put in something like this.
For me, yeah, because I was thinking about that. For me, 13 Sentinels would be the winner for me in this. Science fiction, like all that stuff. I think the story was great in that game.
That's a good choice, yeah.
And, from a lot of different perspectives and timelines, and you were going all over the place. And that's just an absolutely great game.
Check out our review.
Yeah, check out our review of that game. But yeah, I never heard of these awards again. I hope they do continue it. That'd be cool to put, video games in there, because video games do have, a lot of video games have great stories. Some of them don't, and then some of them have really fantastic stories that they try to make into movies and completely destroy. But, the video game itself is great. So, if you look at the lore and the kind of story of certain games, you can tell that there was a lot of thought and a lot of, they're almost like a book, in the sense, or like a movie, I guess, in the sense, because it's more visual. But, you could definitely write a book off of it. And a lot of games do have books based on their story arcs and stuff like that. So, yeah, it would be cool to see that continue. Hopefully next year this award continues with that category of video games. That'd be cool to see another, video games get recognized for their stories, from from a science fiction book, fantasy book award, the Hugo Awards. So that would be cool to see. So hey, more power to it. More power to it.
Right, yeah, but I'd like to look through that list too and see if 13 Sentinels is in there, because I'll agree with you. 13 Sentinels is an amazing game, and the story is what hooked me on that. Because, I mean, it's not, outside of the combat, it's not a, engagingly active game. It's a storytelling.
Yeah,
Right.
it's watching
combat
and playing an anime outside of the combat. But that's what makes that game so unique and just fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it is.
Cool.
And it's like all those stories and all the, characters and stuff of 13 Sentinels coming together. That's what really makes that game shine, along with the combat. So, but I would be surprised, Pat, if it is in that list. There's 145 games, so it could be.
It could be, and like I said, I was not able to look out and find the games in the list, so I couldn't find the complete list. So who knows where it's at or if it was. So
I would like to know what other types of games were in there, because the top 6, I think it was, they were pretty varied. So I mean, I'm kind of surprised at some of them. So let's see. Muddy baseball, for God's sakes. I mean, that's in there. There's got to be some really good
baseball. Baseball.
Baseball.
Basketball?
All right. Well, anybody else got anything else they want to add before we shut this one down?
No, sir.
So.
All right. Well, like we always say, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to hit that bell for notifications so you get notified every time we post videos. We post videos roughly about 5, 6 times a week. So make sure you stay up to date with what we post. So hit that bell for notification, and make sure to leave us some comments. Like, what do you think about the first video game that gets a Hugo Award? Make sure you hit that button. Just mash those buttons. And then don't forget to tell your friends. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we hope to catch you in the next one.
See ya.